If you arrived at this video in the last 72 hours, I need you to understand something before we continue. Your presence here is not a coincidence. It is not the algorithm. It is not boredom pushing you toward just another piece of content. Over the last 3 days, something within you has been running on overdrive. You woke up in the middle of the night for no reason, felt a tightness in your chest during the day, had the impression that something important was about to happen, and no one around you seemed to notice. You opened your phone several times looking for an answer you didn't yet know how to formulate into a question. And it was exactly this internal movement, this silent discomfort, that brought you here. It wasn't the title. It was your field. The full moon of June 29th is approaching. And contrary to what they say out there, it is not just another moon. It is the closing point of a cycle that many of you began living without realizing, and whoever understands what is happening in the week leading up to this event comes out the other side in a different life. Whoever does not understand will feel everything, will suffer everything, will cry everything, and on the 30th, they will wake up exhausted with no idea what to do with what they have lived through. Today I am going to give you 7 movements that you need to start now. Not on the moon, now. Humanity will be divided into 2 groups this week. The absolute majority will feel this energy rising and will attribute it all to small things. They will say they are stressed, that they slept poorly, that work is heavy, that it's PMS, that it's the weather. They will take the symptom and bury it under a comfortable explanation, and the window will close for these people. They will cross the full moon anesthetized, and everything that could have become a life-changing turn will become just another bad night. You do not belong to that group. I know you don't, because no one clicks on a video like this and stays until this point in the talk without having, deep inside, the infrastructure to recognize an inflection point when it arrives. This video is for the minority who will use this window consciously. Take a deep breath, because from now on, every paragraph carries a real instruction. The opening of the energetic window begins between June 22nd and 24th, and it does not ask for permission to enter. It enters like a cold draft invading a heated room. The more sensitive ones are already beginning to perceive this in an almost physical way. A restlessness that has no clear origin, a sense of anticipation that is not linked to any event marked on the calendar, a diffuse pressure in the chest or at the top of the head that appears and disappears without warning. It is as if the body knows something that the mind has not yet managed to name. And this difference between the body already knowing and the mind not yet understanding is precisely what creates the tension of this phase. Imagine an animal that senses the thunder before the rain. It does not have the concept of a storm, but it has the instinct for protection. You are in this same place, only in reverse. Your instinct is pushing you to expose yourself, not to protect yourself. It is saying that there is something on the other side of this wave. And this perception alone is already one of the signs that you are in the right group. The window does not open for whoever it wants. It opens for those who are already preparing, even without knowing the name of what they were preparing for. And the function of these first 3 days is exactly this: to pull you out of automatism, to make you start observing yourself from the outside, to realize that your mood, your sleep, your patience, your breathing, everything is being slightly reorganized by a force that does not ask for authorization. Do not try to understand yet. Just recognize that you have entered. Next come the more active symptoms, and this is where many people get scared. Insomnia that does not yield to anything. Waking up between 3 and 5 in the morning with a mind as clear as if it were the middle of the day. Anxiety that appears without an identifiable trigger, as if the body were running from something that even it does not know what it is. Hypersensitivity to sounds, to people, to smells, to the food itself. Long, strange dreams with people you haven't seen in years, with settings that feel like memories of a life you never lived. Fatigue for no reason, the kind that doesn't go away with rest, because the fatigue isn't in the body. It is the subtle system being recalibrated at high speed. And a very particular sensation, that of no longer recognizing yourself in the mirror. You look at your own face and get the impression that something is missing, or something is extra, or that the shine in your eyes has changed. This is the exact point where the most common mistake happens. Most people interpret these signs as a problem, as emotional illness, as loss of control, and run to muffle them with distraction, with alcohol, with infinite screen scrolling, with a full schedule, with anything that covers the sound of the message that is arriving. But these symptoms are not by chance. They are the confirmation that your emotional, intuitive, and energetic system picked up the turning point before your rational mind. Feeling all of this at once is proof that you are alive on the right plane. It is not a loss of control, it is reading. And it is exactly here, at this point in the week, that I need to give you a structure. Because feeling without direction is burnout, and direction without practice is abstraction. That is why I prepared Magia em 28 Exercicios, the 28 Chaves do Despertar, a path built to accompany exactly one complete lunar cycle, day by day, exercise by exercise, without loose mysticism, without empty promises. Each key translates a symptom like these. You are feeling into a concrete movement of consciousness. What to do with insomnia, how to decode a dream, what to write when your chest tightens, which decision to make when your old life begins to crumble. If you recognized 3 or more signs of what I just described, this path is not a course, it is the bridge. Access is in the first comment pinned below this video, and it was placed on purpose so that only those who are truly within this window reach it. Write the word Limia in the comment if you have felt at least 3 of these signs in the last few days. This is your first public commitment to your field. Starting on the 24th and extending until the 26th, the thing changes in nature. It is no longer a sensation in the body, it is a confrontation with truth. The energy that was opening the window now begins to push uncomfortable truths to the surface of your consciousness, and they come in the form of thoughts that you can no longer push under the rug. About that relationship you have known for a long time is over, but you keep pretending can be repaired. About that friendship that drains your energy, but you maintain out of guilt or habit. About the profession you embrace with your mouth, but reject with your body every Monday morning. About the way you see yourself, about how much you think you deserve, about the patterns you swear you will break, and have been repeating for 5, 10, 15 years. The full moon that approaches has this surgical function. It does not create the truths. It only illuminates what was already there, hidden behind the noise of routine. And what happens in these 3 days is that the volume of this noise drops. Distractions stop working. That which used to entertain you now tires you. That series that held your attention now seems empty. That group chat irrelevant. It is as if the universe turned off the headphones you were using to avoid hearing your own voice. And then it appears, low, calm, irreversible, saying exactly what you always knew and never wanted to admit. The risk here is not hearing it. The risk is running to cover it up again. Whoever runs loses the window. Whoever stays, even uncomfortable, crosses through. And it is important to understand what this part of the week has that is very specific. It is not cruel, it is honest. Expanded consciousness does not invent drama. It only returns to you a distant view of your own choices. It is like climbing a hill after months walking on the plain. You don't change the path, you just start to see where it had been leading you all along. And this view from above, generally, hurts. It hurts because you realize how much time you spent in directions that weren't yours. How many conversations you had to please others rather than to take a stand. How many dreams you postponed waiting for the courage that would only appear after you took the first step. This pain is not a punishment. It is an inventory. And the inventory is the door. Because everything you name in this stretch of the week becomes raw material for the decision that comes with the moon. What you refuse to name remains trapped in the body, becomes a symptom, becomes anxiety, becomes repetition. So, the more honest you are with yourself between the 24th and the 26th, the lighter and more surgical your passage through the full moon will be. Here appears the question that separates. Who is ready to receive the change? And I need to be very direct with you on this part, because this is precisely the area where the current spiritual environment lies the most. You don't need to be chosen. You don't need to be special. You don't need to have a gift, a lineage, a grand mission, a birthmark, or premonitory dreams since childhood. Being ready in this context means something much simpler and much harder. You have gone through losses that taught you that control is an illusion. You have crossed isolations that taught you that external validation is sweet, but it does not sustain you. You rebuilt yourself at least once in silence, with no audience, no Instagram post, with no one applauding you. You matured while pretending to others that you were fine. And today, sitting there, in some functional place within you, that the old life no longer fits. It's not that it's wrong, it's that it's expired, like a piece of clothing that still zips up, but is too tight for you to move. Whoever is ready is whoever has already seen this tightness. Whoever still thinks they can adjust a seam here and there and keep wearing it hasn't arrived yet. And that is fine. Everyone arrives in the time of their own field. But if you recognized yourself now, if you felt the lump in your throat while I described loss, reconstruction, and silent maturation, you need to understand that this full moon did not come to you randomly. It came because you have already done, without realizing it, 90% of the work. The 10% that is missing is this last week, and it is in this last week that most people give up, because the accumulated fatigue of maturation gives a false sense that it is no longer worth trying. And so that these final 10% are not wasted, this is where Magia em 28 Exercicios comes in, with its most surgical function. It was designed precisely for this pre-turn phase, in which feeling is no longer enough and the decision has not yet been taken. Each exercise is a clean cut into the excess, a practical guide to transform restlessness into language and language into direction. Access remains in the first pinned comment. Do not postpone. The window is finite and the turning point needs structure. From the 26th going into the 27th, the most dangerous phase begins, and I need you to pay double attention here, because it is in this phase that people most sabotage everything they built in the previous days. You will feel an enormous desire to go back to your old self. A strange nostalgia will appear for times when you suffered more, but at least knew the name of what you were feeling. That X will appear in your thoughts or in your direct messages out of nowhere. An invitation will appear to a place that weakens you, but that looks like a party. A desire will appear to minimize everything you recognized in the previous days, to tell yourself that you were exaggerating, that it was just a phase, that you don't need to change anything so big. A dramatic tiredness will appear, the kind that pushes you to bed and makes you think that resting is abandoning. And here is the secret of this phase. None of this is a sign that the transformation is wrong. All of this is the final reaction of the old identity fighting to survive. Think of a fish being pulled out of the water. It thrashes, it beats its tail, it fights with everything it has, not because it wants to die, but because its entire organism is programmed to insist on that environment. Your old identity works like this. It knows that the full moon will consolidate a new version of you, and it attempts one last strike. The more real the change, the more theatrical the resistance. So if in these 2 days you feel the urge to cancel everything, to go back to old patterns, to pretend that nothing was happening, that is exactly what will confirm to you that the turning point is real. People who are not changing anything do not suffer anything. The discomfort of these 2 days is your medal of progress, and your only job is not to mistake this resistance for wisdom. It is not your soul warning you to stop. It is your old version calling you back to the comfort of the known. This is the right moment to do something symbolic in the field. Comment the word attraverso if you can feel right now with clarity that you are experiencing this resistance. It is not just a word. It is an energetic knot being cut in front of invisible witnesses. What you declare in public begins to reorganize internally at a different speed. Next, between 27 and 29, the focus shifts from emotion to the mind, and this transition needs to be understood very carefully. Not because the emotion has fulfilled its role and can now be abandoned, but because from this point on, the way you speak to yourself determines the outcome of the full moon. Anyone who reaches the moon speaking to themselves in any way, repeating old phrases, ruminating, accusing themselves, diminishing themselves, will crystallize these phrases. The full moon amplifies what is being said inside at the exact moment it completes itself. And that is why silence on these days ceases to be a preference and becomes a tool. The excess of social media, the excess of empty conversations, the excess of others' opinions entering your head weakens the clarity precisely in the phase where clarity is everything. It is not time to ask for advice. It is not time to discuss your life with people who do not live as you want to live. It is not time to look for reading material, a chart, an oracle, a new therapist, a guru. It is not time to collect more information. It is time to seal what has already been gathered. The silence of this phase is active. It is not an absence, it is work. You sit down and let the right phrase rise. It can be a 2-second sentence. It can be a one-line decision. It can be a proper name that needs to leave your life. It can be a yes you have never said to a dream you have always hidden. It doesn't matter the size. It matters that it is true, and that you can hear the sound of it without the noise of the world on top of it. And to achieve this functional silence, you need to make small and hard choices. Reduce notifications, limit conversations, leave groups that disperse you, eat lighter, sleep earlier. Do not consume emotionally heavy content. You are not running away from the world. You are building the room in which you will make the most important decision of the next 6 months. If you have made it this far, I need to be absolutely direct with you because I know the type of person who continues listening to a video of this depth to this point. You are not here out of curiosity. You are here because you know you need a method, not more content. And that is exactly what Magia em 28 Exercicios delivers. 28 keys, distributed over 28 days. That is, an entire lunar cycle, so that you do not cross the window that opens now, nor the ones that come after, alone. It transforms feeling into practice, shadow into workable material, signs into decisions, and consciousness into concrete direction. It is not reading, it is a journey. Access is, once again, in the first pinned comment below. Do not leave it until after the full moon. Who? Enter now, cross the threshold with structure. Those who wait cross without a net. And then the night of June 29th arrives. The full moon reaches its completion, and everything that was perceived, named, faced, resisted, and finally decided during the week gains a new density. This night is not for feeling more. You have already felt enough. It is for consolidating. It is the moment when the previous cycle is sealed, not by desire, but by energetic configuration. The people, the places, the habits, the beliefs that belong to the old version of you lose the current that kept them in orbit around you. And this loss is not dramatic. It is silent, almost administrative. Suddenly certain messages stop arriving, certain invitations cease to appear, certain voices in your head simply fall silent, and the emptiness that remains is not depression, it is space, space that the next cycle will begin to fill, but only if you do one thing on the night of the moon. And this thing is not an elaborate ritual, not a candle, not a bath, not a choreographed purification. It is an honest internal decision. A sentence spoken in a low voice or in thought, with the courage of someone who no longer has anywhere to return to. Something like, "From this point on, I do not go back to that." Or, "From this point on, I take ownership of this." The precision of this sentence matters more than any setting. It is the cut. And what comes after this cut, in the next 6 months, is the physical, practical, observable unfolding of that sentence. That is why throughout this entire last week, the real work is preparing yourself to be able to say this sentence without a trembling voice. A portal is not an astronomical event. It is not a date marked on the calendar waiting to save you. It is the exact point where the cost of remaining trapped in your current life becomes greater than the terror of taking the next step. You take the step, and then the ground appears. Never before. And June 29th is exactly that, the external configuration that gives you permission to experience internally what is already ready to move. The energy will not do anything for you. It will amplify everything you decide, with the same intensity with which it would amplify the absence of your decision. Whoever arrives empty leaves emptier. Whoever arrives with a precise sentence leaves with a new life beginning to take shape. What you heard today was the preparation, the complete revelation of what this threshold means for your new life, the next months, the doors that open after this moon, is in the video that appears on the screen now. Click on it. The first 60 seconds will reorganize your timeline because it is in this next video that I show what happens the day after the cut and how to recognize the first signs that the new cycle has already begun to manifest physically around you. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, understand one thing. Every video here is a coordinate within a larger map of this window and what comes after it. Without subscribing, you receive loose pieces. With subscribing, you receive the entire sequence in the order it needs to arrive. Losing the sequence is losing the context, and at this moment in your cycle, context is everything. I will see you on the other side of the moon.